Good day, everybody. I'm Gwendolyn Flynn, and this is my colleague, Tiffany Lee. Welcome to New Answers Podcast. We are a community of everyday people sharing our solutions to life challenges based on our personal experiences. We're continuing in our conversations on spirituality, and this we see as a means of finding solutions to those life challenges. And spirituality, means is a way of making a connection to your higher power, whatever you call that higher power. And we have been talking about the experiences that we've had and explaining them that we think is related to spirituality, deja vu, out of body experiences. What other things have we been talking about? Um, do we talk about dreams?
Did we talk about dreams?
Well, I'm trying to remember. We talked about different things, but anyway, you get the idea. Is we think that, and we're finding that the two of us have obviously had some of these experiences. We think there are other people out there that have had them as well. We're not alone, which means, it's not weird. It's not, we're not uh, otherworld. I was going to say otherworldly, but it is otherworldly, isn't it? But it's a much more common occurrence than we all think. And because we're talking about it, we want to make sure that other people who are having these experiences join us in this conversation. And if we can sort of bring awareness to this and use that connection with our higher power, the spirituality, to find solutions to our personal problems, we think that together we can build on those abilities to find solutions to world events as well and make this a better place for us all to live. So today, we've been talking about all these different subjects over the course of these weeks. And I think we want to take some time to do some reflection, right? We want to process some of these conversations and experiences that we've had and not continue to go forward, and talk about new spirituality or spiritual experiences. So just before we hit the record button, Tiffany and I were talking about, this notion of the law of the universe. So you want to pick up. I don't know if you want to pick up where you left off, or
Yeah.
the recording started, or
Yeah. So, well, we both go to a spiritual center that are pretty much related. I go to the Center of Spiritual Living, and you go to the Agape, or you watch Agape. And I've been taking classes and taking and reading the book of the class called The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And I have to give him credit for it. I think it's amazing what I'm learning. And I feel for me, it begins to piece together everything that we're questioning, like, what is intuition? What is being able to read someone's mind? What is, our psychic abilities? Where does this all come from?
Yeah.
So I was mentioning to Gwen that as I'm reading this Science of Mind book, the belief with that comes from Ernest Holmes, and it's not really just Ernest Holmes, because I've also been dabbing into Kabbalah and African religions and stuff like that. And for the most part, most religions, every religion actually has God. They know, like, what is a given, it is understood, is that there is a single source of the creation of life. So we could call it, like, I do like Supreme Creator, but you can call it anything: God, universe, Supreme Creator, Mother, Father, God. I like using that one too. You'll hear different spiritual leaders calling it different things. Okay. So the way my mind works is I rarely grasp onto something until I can see that 1 + 1 = 2. So the reason why I'm really liking Science of Mind is like, okay, we're going back to prime creator or God, um, the creator of everything. It all starts there. So like in my mind, like here's prime creator. And from here, everything grows. And as everything is being created by his word, just like in the Bible, it says, in the beginning there was the word and thoughts create, right? So we kind of know this through manifesting or whatnot. Um, what I'm processing is we talk about miracles, we talked about intuition, psychic abilities. So with Science of Mind, we have, let's say, spirit, God, prime creator, that would all be the same. They that is creation, and it's perfect, and it's love, and it's always good, and it's always perfect, right? And it's one. And there's no duality. There's no equal evil. It's good, but there's no equal evil. So, and they create by word, right? And it's so the way they believe it is their spirit soul. Soul does the creating, or soul or universe does the creating, and then there's the body, there's the material world, what that's the result of that creating.
Mhm.
So in the result of that creating is like us, we're humans, and it's different levels of consciousness. There's like the creation of a phone, or a crystal, which is minimum consciousness, you know what I mean, but it's still energy. There's a plant that's a kind of a medium amount of consciousness, right? Because it has enough consciousness to know it needs water, it needs the sunlight, it knows how to grow, but it doesn't roam around. Um, and then there's us. I mean, there's plants and animals, but then there's us, and we are a stronger self-consciousness, whatever, stronger level of self-consciousness. We are an expression of source, God, right? What makes us different, I think I touched on this before, but what makes us different is we then also discover ourselves, and then we have our personality and ego.
Mhm. Mhm.
So trying to process all that, right?
Right.
Um, when it comes to, so the universe says yes to everything. So because we are an expression of God, the universe, prime creator, we have that same ability to create. And our words are creations, our thoughts are creation. So this is kind of like we all know this, right? We all have at this point heard of how to manifest, watch your thoughts and everything. But when you're studying it, it starts digesting more.
Yeah.
Like everything we do and say, we literally are creating the good and the bad. So a lot of people like to think like I'm manifesting. They're only thinking about the things they really want. I want to manifest $1 million and manifest $1 million, manifest $1 million, but
Mhm.
they're not manifesting that $1 million,
Mhm.
because in the next sentence, they're like, but I have all these bills, I have this, and whatever resonates with you is kind of what happens.
Yeah.
They're not going to talk about the bills again, but that's really what they
That's what
resonate.
they feel. That's what they, yes.
Right.
And that's
So,
where the attention probably goes too, right? While
yeah,
they're saying this stuff, but their attention is really on the bills and not the $1 million, probably.
yeah. And then here's I think I almost forgot what I was talking about was when it comes to me manifesting the things that I really want,
Mhm.
um, or want or need, or oh no, the miracles in my life. What I recognize is when a miracle would happen, it's when I'm at the edge of my control. I'm at the end of my control, right? So that's what it was. So I recognize that, say, for instance, the story last week when
Right.
I was needing money so bad, trying to sell my ring, spent 3 days going to different pawn shops and stores trying to find someone that would give me enough money for the ring that I needed. I think it was by that evening. And I couldn't, no one would pay me enough money. give me enough money for it. And I had no money. My kids were with me. We were, I was in the mall. I was looking over the banister. My kids were crying and I was falling into tears. And I was like, I give up. I can't, I give up. And I was just, I released, right? What,
Right.
what happened was when I gave up, I realized I could not do anything else. And so that is releasing control in the most, like that, putting it simple, but that's what it is, where there you can say, I want this universe and release control. Or if you're like me, get to the point of you exhaust every element of yourself trying to do it before you give up. And every time that miracle comes into play is right after my give up moment. So
Yeah.
that moment, I gave up. I'm standing at the balcony, leaning over, about to cry with my kids. And this little man walks out of the store behind me, the store that doesn't belong in the mall.
Mm.
And then I'm not going to repeat the story, but that's when this guy comes out. He brings me in the store, he goes to the back, comes back out, gives me the exact amount of money I need. And, um, and then, sends me on my way. Like, and I recognize it's a miracle. I really recognize it when the store's gone the next day, when I go back and there's not even an empty space. And I'm just always wondering all these years, like, how did that happen? You know what I mean? And someone was like, an angel's watching out for you. But now, today, after reading the book and digesting after I've had this class too,
Mhm.
I realize that scene I manifested
Mhm.
because I spent days looking for a store a pawn
Yeah.
shop like store that would buy my ring and the exactly amount of money I needed.
Yeah.
And I was I was putting a lot of energy into it, a lot. Like it was all I was thinking about the next 2 days because I need to pay these bills. At
Right.
this point, my kids knew what I was looking for. So
Hmm.
here we had almost a little collective, two little kids and me knowing exactly what we're looking for. And then at the moment I let go of my control of me trying to do it, it appears.
Yeah.
So all these years, I'm like, that was a miracle. And then I realized, well, yes, it's miraculous, but that's what the law of manifestation is, right? It's like, it's the thought, the need, the thought. It gets into the second phase of the universe saying yes, because the universe always says yes. So my thought was, I need a pawn shop that will buy my ring. The universe said yes. And meanwhile, I didn't know anything about how the universe works. So the law works whether we know it or not. I didn't know anything about how the universe works. I was praying obviously for it. Um, but then at the moment when I stopped looking, I gave up and said, it's in your hands, God. It was like boom, right there. So that's such an extreme example of a manifested miracle, but I bet we
Right.
all do it all the time without recognizing it.
I think you're right. I think it happens all the time, but we don't acknowledge it. We don't pay attention to it. We just kind of dismiss it as, I think we use the word coincidence or something.
Right.
E- Even if we call it that, um, before it gets to a miracle, we'd say, oh, it's a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
But I kind of hear you. So I haven't read Ernest Holmes, even though I've been an Agape member since, I don't know, the early 90s, I guess. And I probably do need to read Science of Mind. The book that I kind of landed on was Christian D. Larson's Pathway of Roses. And it's not really any teachings necessarily, but it is. And it's somehow comforting to me. But I think I need to get the Science of Mind book and read it. And you say, is this a different version of the Ernest Holmes book that you read as part of your class that you're reading now? Is it
Yeah. It's
an updated version? What is it?
yeah. So the one we used in class was 50th anniversary edition.
Okay.
Um, and I had downloaded online, not realizing there was two versions to it while in class because I wanted to have one on my tablet because then I could just like read it going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
I realized during class that the version on my tablet was different, so I didn't read it. But I
Oh,
recently decided to read it and see what the version, how different it is. So ultimately it says the same thing,
Uh-huh.
but I felt like this version is so much clearer to understand. And in the process of the last couple of days of reading it, I've been like having so many aha moments, you know.
Really?
So we'll go back to um Prime Creator is
Mm-hmm.
the creation of everything. And probably here in in the center they talk about the universal mind.
Uh-huh.
Crying so it's like, which is another term for like the prime creator, the universal mind.
Mm-hmm.
No, the universal mind is a attribute of the prime creator.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's the creation area. So the universal mind, when we have our thoughts, the thoughts really are coming from the universal mind. And that's why, according to Ernest Holmes, why I'm thinking about me as a child. I remember I would have a thought about something. I'll be like, gosh, I was in this, I try to invent something. Like, let's just say strawberries and lemonade would be really good. I think I should invent strawberry lemonade or something. And then a week later, it would come about. Like I'd never heard of it before. But then a week later, I go someplace and they're like, oh, strawberry lemonade, you know? Um, it's because, and I remember thinking this as a young kid. I was like, do people hear my thoughts or do we hear a thought and it goes out to the universe? I literally had this thought as a young, and then other people hear it. You know what I mean? And so I remember thinking, if I have a thought, I'm going to try to not say it out loud so no one else hears it so I can invent it. So I had this little challenge as a little girl, which is so funny because that's exactly what happens. Is like there is this, according to Ernest Holmes, universal mind. We all have access for it, to it, from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so our thoughts are not our thoughts alone, but typically our thoughts other people have thought too.
Mm-hmm.
Because it all comes from one source,
Source. There we go again with that one source.
that
Yeah.
one source.
Mm-hmm.
So in the book, it even tells you like, um, well, so with that, the important part, and this is huge with science of mind, is healing work,
Mm-hmm.
because we are an expression of God. We're actually perfect. We co-create our mind. God created us perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
perfect. Health wise, we probably shouldn't even die. But with our minds and our development, collective development of time and illnesses and all of that, then we as a collective created illness, sickness, and
Yeah.
time and death and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's why with science of mind, healing is huge because if you can realign as your mind to know that you are a perfect being,
Healthy, well, yes. Well-being, yes.
you are you are now telling your body you're perfect. There is no illness. There can't be illness because God is perfect and I'm an expression of God. And
Exactly.
then people have healed themselves immediately like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's such a high level consciousness. And like Jesus had that consciousness because the level of Jesus with that consciousness, you can also, through that universal mind, think of another person,
Mm-hmm.
heal them
Mm-hmm.
separately. Like, and that's what science of mind, our prayers, the spiritual mind treatments are supposed to do, you know, is demonstrate that belief system. So I brought it up the last conversation. I think that the 5 steps to the spiritual mind treatment. I'm not going to bring it up now, but the main thing is to align with God, to acknowledge the the fact that God or prime creator is perfect, is the creation of everything perfect, love, wisdom, everything. And we're aligned with them, an expression of them. So therefore we are perfect because God doesn't create anything imperfect,
That's
right?
right. Right.
But because we have co-creation ability, because we then co-create our life, we become a personality. It's our mind becomes unaligned with God and we can have illnesses and stuff like that. So the spiritual mind treatment is to bring you back in alignment with God, to change your
Line.
mind,
Right.
to align
Right.
with God, change your mind and be healthy again or
Mhm,
wealthy or whatever you need in
mhm.
manifestation. So I think I just discussed more than I meant to because I'm processing it all as well.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah,
And
you should definitely read
processing
the
it with you,
book.
processing it with you. So,
Yeah.
so is there a, how do you, in terms of the book, The Science of Mind, I know you said the one that you had in class was like the 50th anniversary of it. And the other one, how is that designated? Is it just the original? What is it?
You know what? That's exactly what it says. I'm going to look it up on my tablet right now.
Okay. And then while you're doing that, um, I'm going to try to sort of summarize what I'm getting from what you're saying. Um, just in terms of the problems or challenges that face us in our lives, um, and how we can overcome those challenges by certainly aligning ourselves with the prime creator, with the universal presence, um, and instead of dwelling on the challenge, I guess, that we're facing, being able to release it to that prime creator. And once we release, we surrender to that um, prime creator, the solutions manifest. They come to us. The
Right.
they come to us. And so it, and it sounds like it should be easy to do.
It does, doesn't it? But the reason why what's difficult about it is changing our thought. So you know
Yeah,
the term like change your thinking, change your life? That came from Ernest Holmes, and we everyone knows that term. People say it
everybody,
all the time.
yeah, yeah.
And that's exactly what he's teaching is what you said, but the little tweak in it, I would say, is you don't even dwell on the thought of the problem. You dwell on the truth of the
Um,
creation. So
right.
let's say I have arthritis. My arthritis is my problem.
Yeah.
Knees are swollen. I don't dwell on, oh, it's going to heal. You actually acknowledge God is perfect. He made me perfect. I
Hmm.
don't have arthritis. Arthritis doesn't exist. My mind created that. My mind or the collective mind, because remember, it's one mind in that collective. And so, as a collective, the collective decided arthritis exists.
Yeah.
And we can bring it into our reality kind of subconsciously, because
Yeah.
it's really it is the subconscious that runs our life, right?
Hmm.
So, we're changing our mind. I don't have arthritis because there's no such thing as arthritis. God is perfect. My body is perfect. And when you can embody that truth, that's when people are healed immediately. So
That's right.
with
It
Jesus being such a
manifests.
yes, with Jesus being at such a high level, they say like when you're at that high level, someone can come into your presence and your belief. So let's just say I had got the belief that as high as Jesus, I can embody that so much. I can heal myself, I can heal others. I don't need that person to believe it as well. They'll believe, I mean, the way people are, they'll believe in you. And they teach that too. Like you develop it so much, it's all about the belief really. So I develop it so much. I know that I'm perfect. I know that I'll know that, let's just say you came to me, you're like, I have arthritis. Well, I'll be like, I'll know that you do not have arthritis. The arthritis doesn't exist, that you are perfect. And
Yeah.
if my light, my consciousness was so high and strong at that moment, you could be healed as well.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, the world would be a much different place if we could all get there. And I think we do have that capability. We all have that capability to get there. You know, you had mentioned a term. I kind of heard it before. Always been, always will.
Right.
That's connected to, right, the law of the universe.
The um the I am, the
Hmm.
I am being the prime creator. He's she, mother, father, God, with prime creators always existed,
Yeah.
you know, from nothing to it. And that part's hard for me to grasp. Like
Yeah.
always existed. and creates everything, created everything, and always will. Now I can see that always will.
Mhm.
Um, and understanding that always will. Like
Mhm.
once something's created, they always will exist, but it's always changing.
Mm.
I mean, so for instance, everything we're made of, our soul and spirit, will always exist. It'll be always changing. We're not going to be in these bodies. When we leave these bodies, we're just another element.
I
You know what I
see.
mean?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
we'll exist now.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So we'll discuss more of that. But um, like I said, it gets, it's, I'm, I'm processing it at the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's difficult to explain because I've read so much and
Mm.
I'm jumping around to the little parts. So I don't know what you can process. I don't know what who's hearing it will process it. But if it's brand new to someone hearing this, obviously they're
Yeah.
going to be like, what are you talking about? It's not brand new to me. You know what I mean? It's not
Right?
brand new to me. I've been studying spirituality for years, but
Yeah.
I will say that now that I'm studying the science of mind and Ernest Holmes, it's
Mhm.
kind of like piecing it all together.
Mhm.
Someone
Mhm.
at the center, when I was trying to explain that to him, he said, oh, it's kind of like knowing all the states in the country,
Mhm.
but not knowing where they are or what they're like. And so it pieces it all together to see them on a map and how they relate to everything.
Mhm. Mhm. I think you made mention of it being kind of like a puzzle. Is it? Is
Oh,
that the same?
yeah. We said that last week. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I can get to that. I am nowhere near as developed in terms of my frequency or where I am in the development around spirituality as you are, because you've been studying this for a while. I haven't really studied it. I mean, I've studied it in the way that you do when you are I was going to say practitioner. I'm not a practitioner, but I attend a spiritual center, and
Right,
all of whatever is being conveyed at that spiritual center, I've been trying to absorb like a sponge, and just processing it in the way that I process it, and trying to share what I have come to believe with anybody who is open and willing to listen. I don't want to impose my belief system necessarily on anybody, but what I try to do is just live my life in the same way in which in the same manner that I've learned from the spiritual center that I attend. And I've been recently trying to, I mean, you know how it is when you're involved in a practice I shouldn't say that. For some of us, and I think I'm one of those, sort of compartmentalize your life. And recently I've been trying to uh, get rid of those silos and those compartments, and incorporate what my belief system is in everything that I do, and all the relationships that I have, and in the work that I do as a consultant. I've been trying to embed that and incorporate that in my work as well. And and in that way, I walk the talk. I want to
right.
walk the talk, and
You're being authentic. And
and be an
that is,
example for other folks. Yeah, yeah,
and I think that is kind of like the conscious movement because a lot of my friends, almost all my friends over the last week have been like, my job, I'm quitting my job. A lot of people are like talking about quitting their job. That is just doesn't align with them anymore. Um, so we were talking about like how you said how hopefully spirituality helps with the world.
hmm
What I thought about today, what kind of came to me was um I've heard didn't really want to go here when I had those downloads on old earth and new earth, you
yeah,
know, but it's kind of exciting because when I'm thinking about it as a collective consciousness, and we can see over the last, gosh, 10 years, but even less, how people are awakening to a higher consciousness, more spirituality. It's becoming more common to speak about, to talk about. So it's called the Great Awakening, right? Um, well, because of the Great Awakening, people's conscious level is elevating. They're becoming more self-aware,
Mhm.
and um, as a conscious collective, then that's where it's shifting Earth
Mm.
sense.
Yep.
So
Yep. That's what
where
I'm
when
hoping.
we were under the control
Mhm.
of religion, when the majority of the collective was under the control of the religions
Yeah.
that are um not Christ conscious. You know what I mean? I was talking to a friend from church and today, an old church I used to go to, and we and I hadn't talked to her in like years. She happened to call me today to help her son buy some real estate. And
Mhm.
surprisingly, we somehow got on the subject of um, how our administration is treating people and how that doesn't align with Christ and how, you know, the churches are not aligned truly with Christ's consciousness,
Mhm.
and I didn't even know she knew anything about it. But that was another example of actually it really is spreading because she's like, oh my gosh, I was just talking to someone the last 2 days about that, it was kind of new to her, but she really grasped it because she was like, this is definitely wrong.
Yeah.
The way the administration is doing it, what's happening, I'm just going to be out there. What's happening in the United States under Trump
Mhm.
is a repeat of Hitler and other regimes like this, right? But what's different is the world is different. The world's changing. A lot of the world is not okay with that because
Yeah.
we are awakening to higher consciousness of how we treat ourselves, how we treat other people.
Yes, exactly.
And that's a positive. So if we continue to all raise our consciousness, it will change the earth.
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for. That's what this is about. And it's been an evolution,
Hmm.
started out with this new answers about, how do we um, share and exchange solutions to problems that we have overcome. And it's kind of broadened out to, or yeah, to looking at solutions that will come to us once we are Christ conscious or God conscious, you know,
Hmm.
and those solutions to our everyday problems disappear. I mean, it's like I shouldn't speak in such absolutes, but it's about, like you were saying earlier, surrendering control, right?
Hmm.
And you surrender that control, and things become a lot better for you. And it's looking at your own personal situation, but I think with the rise of this consciousness, that it can permeate into the world, out from you personally to your family, to your community, your neighborhood, your community, your city, your state. I mean, big, big,
Yeah. Yeah.
and really change the way things are unfolding here. Because as you say, there is only one. There's only one, and we just have to connect with that one. And once we make that connection, I think that the um, uh, uh, the God consciousness emerges and surfaces, and we make different uh, choices with that happening. Okay, so let's leave it there for now. And we'll get back into this again in another conversation on nurturing spirituality as part of our New Answers podcast. And we hope that you will continue to join us. We want you to subscribe. There's a little button that you'll find below this video. Click that to subscribe, and whenever we have any new recordings that we upload, you will get a notification of it. So you'll know to, stay tuned. So until then, I'm Gwen Flynn,
I'm Tiffany Lee.
and we'll see you next time.